I was living the dream in Boston as a software engineer with a beautiful fiancée named Amanda, and our wedding just 3 months away. My parents had always been my rock, especially my father Thomas, who I looked up to my entire life. Then came that Thursday when I returned early from my business trip in Seattle, flowers and wine in hand, excited to surprise Amanda. Instead, I was the one who got the surprise of my life when I opened our bedroom door. What I saw shattered my world forever. Before I share this painful story, where are you watching from today? Hit that like button and subscribe if you have ever had your trust completely destroyed by someone you loved. The life I had built for myself seemed perfect from every angle. At 32, I had secured a senior position at one of Boston's most prestigious tech firms. The salary was great, the work challenging but rewarding, and my colleagues respected my expertise. After 5 years of climbing the corporate ladder, I finally felt established in my career. My personal life was equally blessed. Amanda and I had been together for 5 years, engaged for the last 12 months. She was 29, worked as a kindergarten teacher at a private school in the city, and had the kind of smile that could brighten even my worst days. We met at my friend Jackson's 4th of July barbecue. I noticed her across the yard laughing as she helped serve food to the kids. Unlike my usual confident approach to dating with Amanda, I moved slowly, cautiously. 3 conversations, and 2 weeks later, I finally asked for her number. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant downtown. By dessert, I knew she was special. Our apartment in downtown Boston was our pride and joy. We had saved for 2 years to afford the down payment, decorating each room together on weekends. The space was modest, but ours with views of the city skyline from our bedroom window. Wedding plans were in full swing for our ceremony at Willow Creek Vineyard just outside the city. Amanda had her dress, I had my tuxedo, and the guest list was finalized at 120 people. My relationship with my parents had always been close. My father, Thomas, 58, was a partner at a respected law firm. My mother, Jessica, 56, worked as an interior designer. They lived in the suburbs in the house where I grew up, about 40 minutes from our apartment. Sunday dinners at their place were a tradition Amanda and I rarely missed. My father had always been my hero, my guide through life's complicated paths. From teaching me to throw a baseball when I was 6 to advising me on my career choices as an adult, he was the man I aspired to become. People often commented on how similar we were in mannerisms and ambition. The Seattle trip was supposed to last the entire week. Our company was pitching to a major potential client, and as the lead developer, my presence was crucial. The presentation went better than expected. By Wednesday afternoon, we had secured the contract 2 days ahead of schedule. My boss suggested we stay and celebrate, but my thoughts immediately went to Amanda. With the wedding just months away, every moment together felt precious. I think I will head back early and surprise Amanda, I told my colleagues as they ordered another round of drinks at the hotel bar. Man, she has got you whipped, joked Derek, my coworker. Just wait until you find the right one, I replied, already checking flight options on my phone. I managed to get a red-eye flight that would land me in Boston by 7 in the morning. During the flight, I made plans in my head. I would stop by that florist she loved on Newbury Street, pick up her favorite wine, and surprise her before she left for work. Maybe we could both call in sick and spend the day together. The thought made the uncomfortable middle seat bearable. The Uber from the airport took longer than expected due to morning traffic. By the time I arrived at our building, it was nearly 8:30. Still perfect timing, as Amanda typically left for work at 9. I juggled my suitcase, a bouquet of white lilies, and a bottle of Merlot as I took the elevator to our 4th-floor apartment. As the elevator climbed, a strange feeling settled in my stomach. Call it intuition or just travel fatigue, but something felt off. I dismissed it as nerves from the presentation or exhaustion from the red-eye flight. The elevator doors opened and I walked the familiar path to apartment 412. I slid my key into the lock as quietly as possible, wanting to maximize the surprise. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I placed my suitcase by the door, set the wine and flowers on the kitchen counter, and headed toward the bedroom to wake Amanda with a kiss. That is when I heard it. A sound so familiar yet completely out of place at that moment. Amanda's laugh, followed by a deeper voice murmuring something I could not quite make out. Then more laughter, hushed, this time conspiratorial. I stood frozen in the hallway, my brain refusing to process what my ears were telling me. Then, a man's voice spoke louder, and my blood turned to ice. It was a voice I had known my entire life. My father's voice. "Amanda, you are incredible. What are we going to do about this situation?" I could not hear her response clearly, just the playful tone that used to be reserved for me. My feet moved forward automatically like a robot programmed for self-destruction. When I pushed the bedroom door open, the scene before me stopped time itself. My father and Amanda were in my bed. Our bed. The sheets that Amanda and I had picked out together during a weekend shopping trip were tangled around them. Amanda's hair was spread across my pillow. My father's watch, the one I had given him for his birthday last year, sat on the nightstand beside them. For 3 heartbeats, nobody moved. Amanda's eyes widened first, her mouth forming a perfect O of shock. My father jerked upright, clutching the sheet to his chest like a shield. "Clarence," he stammered. "This is not what you think." The bottle of wine I had been holding slipped from my grasp, shattering on the hardwood floor. The sound broke the paralysis that had gripped me. Rage, pure and unfiltered, flooded every cell in my body. "How long?" My voice sounded strange, distant, as if someone else was speaking through me. Amanda began to cry messy, ugly sobs that shook her bare shoulders. "Please, Clarence, let me explain." "How long?" Each word felt like broken glass in my throat. My father stood up, wrapping the sheet around his waist. "Son, you need to calm down. We can discuss this rationally." Something snapped inside me. The man who had taught me to be respectful, to control my emotions, to be a gentleman in all situations, was standing naked in my bedroom with my fiancé, asking me to be rational. I lunged at him. My fist connected with his jaw with a sickening crack. He stumbled backward but did not fall. I followed, hitting him again, this time in the stomach. He doubled over, gasping for air. Amanda was screaming now, trying to pull me away from him. I shoved her aside, my focus entirely on the man who had betrayed me so completely. He tried to defend himself, but the sheet restricted his movements. I landed blow after blow, watching as blood bloomed from his nose, his lip. "I trusted you," I shouted, my voice breaking. "Both of you." My father managed to land a punch on my ribs, sending a wave of pain through my side. The pain only fueled my rage. I tackled him to the ground, both of us crashing into the dresser. Perfume bottles and framed photos went flying, adding to the chaos. Amanda had grabbed her robe and was still screaming, begging us to stop. I hardly heard her through the roaring in my ears. My father's face was barely recognizable beneath the blood and swelling. My own knuckles were split open, throbbing with each heartbeat. Finally, my father pushed me off with unexpected strength, scrambling to his feet. "You have lost your mind," he gasped, blood dripping from his mouth. "I am calling the police." Amanda rushed to his side, helping him find his scattered clothes. "Clarence, please," she sobbed. "This is not what we wanted." "What did you want?" I asked, my voice deadly quiet now. "To keep fucking my father until our wedding day, to make a fool of me in front of everyone." She could not meet my eyes. My father had pulled on his pants and was fumbling with his phone. I knocked it from his hand. "Get out," I said. "Both of you. Now." Amanda grabbed some clothes and ran into the bathroom. My father, still shirtless, staggered toward the apartment door. "This is not over, Clarence," he said, his voice distorted by his swollen lip. "You will regret this." "The only thing I regret," I replied, "is ever looking up to you." Within minutes, they were gone. Amanda had fled in her bathrobe, clutching a handful of clothes. My father had stumbled out, still threatening to call the police. I locked the door behind them and collapsed on the living room floor, surrounded by the wreckage of my life. The aftermath was a blur of rage and despair. I returned to the bedroom now, a crime scene of betrayal, and stared at the rumpled sheets, the indentation of bodies still visible. With a roar, I stripped the bed, shoving everything into a garbage bag. Then I spotted it glinting in the morning light. Amanda's engagement ring sitting on the bathroom counter where she had left it before showering. The 2-carat diamond had cost me 6 months of savings. I had spent weeks researching cuts and clarity, wanting everything to be perfect. Now I took a hammer from our toolbox and smashed the ring on our kitchen counter, watching as the diamond cracked under the force. I found a bottle of whiskey in the cabinet, a gift from a client that I had been saving for a special occasion. This seemed appropriate enough. I unscrewed the cap and took a long pull, wincing as the liquid burned down my throat. My phone was lighting up with calls and texts. My father. Amanda. I turned it off and threw it across the room. As the whiskey dulled the edges of my rage, a new thought surfaced. My mother. Did she know? Was she part of this betrayal too? Or was she another victim like me? I needed to know. Despite the alcohol in my system and my injured hand, I grabbed my car keys. I had to see her to warn her to find at least one person from my old life who was still on my side. The drive to my childhood home in Lexington took longer than usual. My thoughts were scattered, jumping between memories that now felt tainted. Every Sunday dinner, every holiday gathering, every casual interaction between my father and Amanda played on repeat in my mind. Had there been signs? How long had I been the fool in their private joke? My mother's silver sedan was in the driveway when I arrived, but my father's BMW was nowhere to be seen. Good. I needed to talk to her alone. When she opened the door, her eyes widened at my appearance. I had not looked in a mirror, but I could imagine what she saw. Bloodshot eyes, disheveled clothes, a swollen hand with dried blood on the knuckles. Clarence. What happened to you? Her voice was full of concern as she ushered me inside. I stood in the entryway of my childhood home, unable to move further. How could I tell my mother that her husband of 30 years had been sleeping with my fiancé? The words stuck in my throat. "Honey, you are scaring me," she said, leading me to the kitchen. "Sit down. Let me look at your hand." I allowed her to guide me to a chair, the same one I had sat in for countless family dinners. As she ran water over a clean dish towel, I finally found my voice. "Dad and Amanda are having an affair." The towel dropped from her hands into the sink. She turned slowly, her face a mask of disbelief. "What did you say?" I caught them together. "In my bed. This morning." Each word felt like I was ripping open the wound again. She shook her head, water dripping from her hands onto the tile floor. "No. That cannot be right. You must have misunderstood." There was no misunderstanding, Mom. They were naked. Together. In my bed. My voice cracked on the last word. She walked to the kitchen table and gripped the back of a chair, her knuckles turning white. "Your father called me an hour ago. He said you attacked him. That you were acting crazy. That you might be on drugs." My laugh was hollow, bitter. "And you believed him. He said he went to your apartment to discuss wedding details. That Amanda let him in and you arrived acting paranoid, accusing them of ridiculous things before attacking him unprovoked." I stared at her in disbelief. "And that made sense to you, that I would suddenly become a violent drug addict, that I would attack my own father for no reason. People change, Clarence. You have been under a lot of stress with the wedding and your job. Thomas said you have been acting strange for weeks." The use of my father's first name hit me like another blow. "Thomas. Not your father anymore, but Thomas," as if she was already distancing herself from him. But not enough to see through his obvious lies. "So you think I am making this up?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. "I think you might be confused about what you saw," she replied carefully. "Thomas would never do something like that. You know him." I thought I did. Clearly I was wrong. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "And clearly I was wrong about you too." Her expression hardened. "Do not take that tone with me. I am still your mother." "Then act like it," I shouted. "Your husband is cheating on you with my fiancé, and you are defending him." Her face flushed with anger. "You have always been jealous of your father's success. Even as a child, you would act out when he received attention. Remember when you broke his fishing trophy because he missed your baseball game for a work conference?" I could not believe she was bringing up an incident from when I was 12 years old. "This is not about childhood jealousy. This is about what I saw with my own eyes today." Your eyes have been playing tricks on you for years, she shot back. Remember your accusations about your high school girlfriend and your best friend. You were wrong then, too. That was a low blow. Sarah had indeed been cheating with my friend Kyle, something I discovered later after everyone had called me paranoid and controlling for my suspicions. You are twisting everything I said, backing toward the door. Just like he taught you to. Maybe Amanda had reasons for looking elsewhere. My mother continued, her words cutting deeper than any knife. Have you considered that? Your father said you have been neglecting her for months, always working, always too busy for her needs. I could not believe what I was hearing. My own mother was suggesting that Amanda's betrayal with my father might be justified. That I had driven them into each other's arms. Get help, Clarence, she said, her voice cold. Professional help. Before you destroy your life and everyone else's with these delusions. In that moment, I realized I had lost both parents and my fiancé in a single day. The family I thought I had was an illusion. I walked to the door, my mother's voice following me, still defending my father, still questioning my sanity. Do not contact me again, I said, my hand on the doorknob. Either of you. As far as I am concerned, I no longer have parents. Her face crumpled for just a moment before hardening again. You do not mean that. You are upset. I have never meant anything more in my life, I replied, walking out and closing the door firmly behind me. I sat in my car for several minutes, tears finally breaking through the numbness. Then I drove to a hotel, checked in with my credit card, and collapsed on the anonymous bed. I sent one text message before turning off my phone again. I know what I saw. I know what happened. I will not be gaslighted by either of you. Do not contact me again. Ever. The next day, I changed my phone number. I blocked my parents and Amanda on all social media platforms. I contacted my company's HR department and arranged an emergency transfer to our Chicago office. I listed my apartment for sale. I sold what I could of our shared possessions and donated the rest. Within 2 weeks, I had erased every external connection to my old life. But the internal scars would take much longer to heal. 8 months later, I was settling into my new life in Chicago. My apartment was smaller than the one in Boston, but located in a vibrant neighborhood full of distractions. Work had become my sanctuary. I had thrown myself into projects with such intensity that I had already received a promotion to lead developer. Therapy was helping slowly. Dr. Marshall, a specialist in trauma and betrayal, had guided me through the worst of the initial rage and pain. The support group she recommended others who had experienced profound betrayals by family members gave me a sense that I was not alone in my struggle. The thing about betrayal trauma, Dr. Marshall explained during one of our sessions, is that it damages your ability to trust, not just others, but yourself. You question your own judgment, your own perception of reality. She was right. Every potential new friendship or romantic connection was filtered through paranoia. Was I missing signs again? Was I being naive? I had gone on a few dates, but nothing progressed beyond casual dinners. The moment a woman showed real interest, I found reasons to pull away. Healing is not linear, became Dr. Marshall's mantra. Some days will feel like progress. Others, like regression. Both are part of the journey. I had made a few friends at work and through my support group. Jackson, my old friend from Boston, was the only person from my previous life that I still spoke with regularly. He had never liked Amanda much, always saying she seemed off somehow. Now I wished I had paid attention to his intuition. The call from Jason came on a Tuesday evening as I was making dinner. Jason and I had grown up together in Lexington, playing on the same baseball teams, attending the same schools until college separated us. He was one of the few childhood friends I had kept in loose contact with over the years. Clarence, is that really you? Man, I have been trying to reach you for months. His voice brought back memories of simpler times, bike rides through suburban streets, sneaking beers in his parents' basement. Hey, Jason. Sorry about that. I had to change my number. Long story. Not that long, actually. Everyone in Lexington knows some version of it, he replied, his tone careful. That is kind of why I am calling. I set down the knife I had been using to chop vegetables. I am not interested in gossip. This is not gossip. This is something you should know. He paused, clearly uncomfortable. Amanda is pregnant. 7 months along. The kitchen seemed to tilt around me. 7 months. That would mean she conceived right around the time I caught them. Perhaps even that very week. "Are you still there, Jason?" asked after my prolonged silence. "Yeah," I managed. "Is it?" "Is he?" "Everyone assumes it is your father's. They are still together, apparently, living in some condo downtown." Jason's disgust was evident in his voice. I gripped the edge of the counter, knuckles turning white. A baby. My father and Amanda were having a baby. My half-sibling would be my ex-fiancé's child. The grotesque complexity of it made me nauseous. "There is more," Jason continued reluctantly. "Your father lost his position at the law firm. Something about ethics violations. Unrelated to the Amanda situation. Supposedly. But the timing is suspicious." A bitter laugh escaped me. "Ethics violations. How appropriate." "What about my mother?" I asked, surprising myself with the question. I had not allowed myself to think about her in months. "Not sure, man. She is still in the house, I think. My mom tried to reach out to her for their book club, but she has been declining all invitations, keeping to herself." After hanging up with Jason, I sat on my kitchen floor back against the cabinets, trying to process this new information. The pregnancy made everything more permanent, more real. There would be a living, breathing consequence of their betrayal. A child who would grow up with my father as their father, and Amanda as their mother. And somewhere in Lexington, my mother was dealing with the public humiliation of it all. Despite her betrayal of me, I felt a twinge of sympathy for her situation. Then I reminded myself of her words that day in the kitchen, how she had chosen to believe my father's lies over my truth, how she had suggested I was mentally unstable rather than consider her husband's infidelity. No. She had made her choice. Now she had to live with it, just as I was living with mine. 2 weeks later, an email arrived from an address I did not recognize. The subject line read, simply, "Please read. It is Mom." My first instinct was to delete it, unread. My second was to read it and respond with all the anger I had bottled up for months. Instead, I let it sit in my inbox for 3 days before curiosity and a faint sense of obligation won out. "Clarence," it began, "I do not know if you will read this. I would understand if you deleted it immediately, but I had to try to reach you. Your father finally admitted everything. After Amanda's pregnancy became impossible to hide, after everyone in town was whispering about them, he finally told me the truth. Not all at once. Bits and pieces, minimizing his role, blaming her seduction, blaming your neglect, blaming everything but his own choices. But I know now that you were telling the truth that day. I know that I failed you in the worst possible way. I chose to believe a man who had been lying to me for years over my own son, who has never given me reason to doubt his word. I cannot sleep. I can barely eat. The thought of what I said to you, how I treated you when you needed me most, haunts me every moment. I have left your father. The divorce papers have been filed. I am staying with my sister in Maine for now. I do not expect your forgiveness. I do not deserve it. But I needed you to know that I know the truth now. And I am so sorry. If you ever feel you could speak to me again, even just once, please let me know. I love you, son, I always have. I just forgot how to show it somewhere along the way. Mom." I read the email 7 times. Then I closed my laptop and went for a long walk along Lake Michigan, letting the cold wind numb my face and hands. My mother knew the truth now. The vindication I had craved for months was finally here, but it felt hollow. I scheduled an emergency session with Dr. Marshall the next day. "What do you want to do?" she asked, after I had shared the email with her. "I do not know," I admitted. Part of me wants to ignore it. She did not believe me when it mattered most. And the other part remembers that she has been married to a manipulative liar for 30 years. That maybe she is as much a victim of his gaslighting as I was. Dr. Marshall nodded. Both perspectives are valid. The question is, which path leads to more healing for you? If I meet with her, I set conditions. I said the decision forming as I spoke. Neutral location. Public place. Limited time. And no guarantee of reconciliation. That sounds like a healthy boundary, she agreed. Just remember that you can walk away at any point if it becomes too much. I replied to my mother's email that evening. 3 sentences. I can meet. Once. Coffee shop at Michigan and Randolph. Saturday at 2 p.m. Her response came within minutes. I will be there. Thank you, Clarence. The woman who walked into the coffee shop barely resembled the mother I remembered. She had lost at least 20 pounds from her already slender frame. Her stylish bob had been replaced by a practical ponytail of hair that seemed to have grayed overnight. The confident posture, the immaculate appearance that had been her trademark were gone. In their place was someone diminished, hesitant. She spotted me in the corner table and froze for a moment, as if expecting me to disappear. I did not stand or wave, just watched as she made her way through the crowded cafe. Clarence, she said, her voice barely audible above the espresso machines and cafe chatter. Thank you for meeting me. I nodded, gesturing to the chair across from me. She sat, placing her purse carefully on the floor beside her. You look well, she offered, a standard pleasantry that felt absurd given our circumstances. You do not, I replied bluntly. She flinched, but nodded. I deserve that. I deserve much worse. The barista arrived with the black coffee I had ordered for her. One detail I had remembered correctly, at least. She wrapped her thin fingers around the mug but did not drink. I do not know where to start, she said after a long silence. The beginning would be good, I suggested, keeping my voice neutral. When did you find out the truth? She took a shallow breath. The rumors started almost immediately after you left. Small town. You know how it is. I denied them at first, defended Thomas, called people liars. Her voice caught on his name. Then Amanda's pregnancy started showing. The timeline was impossible to ignore. She stared into her untouched coffee. Even then, he denied it was his. Said she had been sleeping with multiple men. That the baby could be anyone's. I wanted to believe him. It was easier than facing what I had done to you. What changed? I hired a private investigator, she admitted, looking up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Found out they had been seeing each other for nearly a year before you caught them. Hotel receipts, text messages, everything. When I confronted him with the evidence, he finally admitted it. Then he had the audacity to suggest we all move past it. That I should forgive him because it was just sex, at first before feelings got involved. My stomach turned at the timeline. A year. While planning our wedding, while sitting across from me at family dinners, while looking me in the eye and calling me son. I moved out the same day. My mother continued. Stayed with a friend until I could arrange to go to Maine. Thomas has been alternating between begging me to return and threatening me financially if I go through with the divorce. And Amanda, I asked, surprised at how saying her name no longer felt like swallowing glass. Living with him in a condo downtown. The baby is due next month. A girl. She hesitated. I am sorry. I do not know if you wanted to know that. I absorbed this information trying to identify what I felt. Not the white-hot rage of before, but something colder, more distant. Like hearing about strangers in a news story. Why did not you believe me that day? I asked the question that had haunted me for months, finally spoken aloud. She looked down at her hands. I have asked myself that question 1,000 times. The simplest answer is that believing you meant my entire life was a lie. My marriage, my trust, everything I thought I knew. It was easier to think you were confused or mistaken. You suggested I was mentally ill, that I had driven Amanda to cheat. Tears spilled down her cheeks now. I know. Those words replay in my mind every night. I cannot take them back. I cannot undo that harm. All I can say is that I was wrong, terribly wrong, and that I will regret it until the day I die. I sat back in my chair, studying the broken woman before me. This was not the vindication I had imagined during those dark days after the confrontation. This was just sad. Two lives shattered by the actions of two selfish people. I have been in therapy, I told her, surprising myself again. It has helped. She nodded. I started seeing someone in Maine. She has been helping me understand how I lost myself in that marriage. How I became an extension of Thomas, rather than my own person. We sat in silence for several minutes, the noise of the cafe washing over us. I do not know if I can forgive you yet, I finally said. I understand, she replied softly. I do not expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I know the truth now, and that I am sorry. Are you staying in Chicago? She looked up, hope flickering across her face for the first time. I have been looking at apartments. My sister helped me access some money Thomas did not know about. I can work remotely for my design firm. If you do, I said carefully, we could meet again. Maybe, in a few weeks. The hope in her eyes grew stronger. I would like that very much. When we parted an hour later, there was no hug, no physical contact at all. But there was a tentative plan to meet again the following month. It was a small step, but a step nonetheless. Over the next 6 months, my mother found an apartment in Chicago about 20 minutes from mine. Our meetings gradually increased in frequency and duration. Coffee shops gave way to restaurants, then walks along the lake. I introduced her to Dr. Marshall, who recommended a support group for spouses of infidelity. Slowly, piece by piece, we began rebuilding a relationship that was different from before, but perhaps more honest. My mother changed in ways I had not thought possible. She cut her financial ties to my father despite his attempts to leverage their shared assets. She built a new client base in Chicago for her design work. She stopped dyeing her hair, letting the natural gray emerge. Small acts of independence that represented a larger internal shift. I was changing too. The rage that had consumed me gave way to something more complex. Not forgiveness exactly, but a recognition that holding on to anger was only harming me. I started dating again more seriously this time. I told Lisa, the woman I had been seeing for 3 months, the full story of what had happened in Boston. Her response, compassion without pity, helped me realize that my experience had shaped me, but did not define me. The airport encounter happened 7 months after my first meeting with my mother. I was returning from a business trip to New York, hurrying through O'Hare when I spotted them near a gate. My father noticeably aged, but still carrying himself with that familiar arrogance. Amanda pushing a stroller with a blanket draped over it to shield the baby inside. They were arguing in hushed tones, not noticing me standing 20 feet away. My father saw me first. His expression cycled rapidly through shocked defensiveness and something like shame, before settling on a forced smile. He nudged Amanda, who turned and froze when she spotted me. For a moment, I considered turning around, avoiding this confrontation entirely. But that would mean letting them dictate the terms of our interaction once again. Instead, I walked directly toward them, maintaining eye contact with my father. "Clarence," he said, attempting a jovial tone that fell flat. "What a surprise." "Is it?" I replied calmly. "It is a big airport, but still a small world." Amanda could not meet my eyes, staring instead at the stroller handle, gripped in her white, knuckled hands. My father stepped slightly in front of her, always the protector when it suited his narrative. "How have you been?" he asked, as if inquiring about an acquaintance he had bumped into at a grocery store. "Better," I said simply. "Much better." He nodded, clearly uncomfortable with my composed demeanor. He had expected rage, perhaps hoped for it. Something to confirm his story, that I was unstable, dangerous. "We are just passing through," he explained unnecessarily. "Visiting Amanda's parents in Wisconsin." "I do not care," I replied, my voice level. His face flushed with anger. "You always were self-centered, Clarence. Some things never change." The old me would have taken the bait, escalated the confrontation. The new me recognized it for what it was, a desperate attempt to regain control of the situation. "What has changed," I said, calmly, "is that I no longer need your approval or acceptance. I no longer need anything from either of you." Amanda finally looked up, her eyes filled with tears. "Clarence, I never meant for any of this to happen." I met her gaze steadily. "Yes, you did. Every step was a choice. Own it at least." She flinched as if I had slapped her. The baby in the stroller began to fuss, a tiny hand reaching out from beneath the blanket. Amanda immediately turned her attention to the child, effectively removing herself from the conversation. My father squared his shoulders, falling back on the intimidation tactics that had worked in the courtroom for decades. "We should go. Our flight is boarding soon." "Goodbye, Thomas," I said, using his first name deliberately. "I wish you exactly the life you have earned." I walked away without waiting for his response, my head high, my steps measured. For the first time since that morning in Boston, I felt truly free of them both. That evening, I told my mother about the encounter over dinner at her apartment. "Were you okay?" she asked, concern etching her features. "Surprisingly, yes," I answered truthfully. It felt like closing a chapter. Like I could finally stop carrying them around with me. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand, a gesture that would have been impossible months earlier. "I am proud of you, Clarence, and thankful that you have given me a chance to be in your life again." "We are both works in progress," I replied, returning the gesture. The journey from that devastating morning in Boston to this moment of relative peace had been the hardest of my life. The betrayal had stripped away my naive trust in others, but had given me something valuable in return: a stronger trust in myself. In my perceptions, my judgments, my worth. I had learned that family is not defined by blood or legal ties, but by loyalty and respect. That forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. That it is possible to acknowledge the pain someone caused you while refusing to let that pain determine your future. Dr. Marshall had been right. Healing is not linear. Some days were still harder than others. But sitting across from my mother, who had found the courage to rebuild her life at 56, I felt something I had not expected to feel again: hope. The half-sister I would likely never know would grow up in a household built on lies and betrayal. I could only hope that someday she would find her own path to truth and healing. As for me, I was already walking that path, step by careful step, toward a future of my own making. What about you? Have you ever had to cut someone toxic out of your life, even if they were family? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories of overcoming betrayal and finding peace. Remember, sometimes the family we choose is more important than the one we are born into. Thank you for listening, and I wish you strength on your own healing journey.